Brexit Britain to the world.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, the 24th of April, 2019. A very significant day for the Irish because it was today in 1916 that they held the Easter Rebellion in Dublin, trying to get Ireland back from British rule because the Brits had controlled it since 1800. The rebels seized the post office. I mean, that would have taken some time, wouldn't it? Because normally there's a big queue there. And they held it until they finally surrendered. 6 days the rebellion lasted. The British, of course, responded, even though they were quite busy with World War I at the time. 485 people were killed, more than 2,600 wounded. Sinn Féin was blamed for the uprising. And, of course, they still want a united Ireland today. Why the hell not? And if we did, if they had it all, wouldn't that make Brexit a lot easier? And then Scotland could break off from Britain, and maybe all those Remoaners in London, of which I'm one, they could all break off as well. And Middle England and Wales, they could happily coexist as a separate entity away from Europe under the authoritarian regime of President Boris I. And they all lived happily ever after, until they went shopping and discovered how much things actually cost. Today also, Jane Fonda's first workout video was released on this day in 1982. I've still got the thong leotard. In fact, I haven't been able to take it off since 1982, despite attempts using surgery. Twitter is one of the big stories today. It is now worth $30 billion. Its share price surged yesterday after they posted very good earnings results. A quarterly profit of $191 million compared to $61 million a year ago. And they make this money from ads. Whoever clicks on Twitter ads, I don't think I ever have, if for anything online, except by accident, which makes me wonder what proportion of all online advertising is people clicking on stuff that's just got in the way. And yet, they reckon 64% of consumers have made a purchase decision based on social content, which sounds great. But it's not really, is it? 64% at some point have made a purchase decision based on online advertising. Whereas you think about it, 100% would have at some point made a purchase decision based on something they've seen on the TV or heard on the radio at some point in their lifetime. So the fact that 1/3 have never been influenced by online is a bit of a damning indictment, isn't it? You would have thought. The best thing that ever happened to Twitter is Donald Trump. That's what one Fox News anchor tweeted, and of course the president retweeted it. Can't help himself, can he? It's actually got now, Twitter, 330 million monthly active users. Of course, when they say active users, they mean, not very active, really, just moving their thumbs a little bit. And I think that's possibly the reason. If we could map the rise of Twitter and Facebook with the decline in global productivity and the rise in obesity, that might be an interesting study. Second story today, climate. Britain has gone without burning coal for longer than at any time since the Industrial Revolution over the weekend. For 90 hours over Easter, the National Grid said they operated without taking any power from a coal-fired power station. 3 days without coal. Of course, by 2025, Britain is going to turn off its last coal power plant and be totally coal-free, whereas the US still has 190,000 megawatts of power. I don't know, is that a lot? Seems like a lot. Anyway, that's how much is created by coal power plants. China's got 5 times that amount, that is why climate change deniers are saying, look, if there's a problem, approach China about it, even though they don't think there's a problem. But if there is, they're saying it's not our fault. Actually, in Europe, Germany has to take the blame for a lot of it because they are one of the biggest polluters. They closed their last coal mine in December. They were sort of forced to by the EU because they're not allowed to subsidise their coal, so they now have to buy coal in. And they're going to have to do that for a long time because Germany, just as Britain is closing down its power stations, Germany's got 120 coal-fired power stations. It's going to take them 20 years to close them down. Meanwhile, in London, Extinction Rebellion is trying to figure out what next to do, or what to do next even, after more than 1,000 of them are arrested over their 8 days of protests. Most of them have got away with fines, which is quite good, isn't it, really, for the government, if they just keep on going. Maybe we could just keep on finding them. Maybe We could get our $350 million a week for the NHS without leaving the EU. We just find climate change protesters. Climate change protesters feel like they're doing something good. We're getting money in and we stay in the EU. Win all round. The protesters have got 3 demands: for the formation of a citizens' assembly on climate change, to cut carbon emissions to zero by 2025, and for politicians to tell the truth. No chance of any of those ever happening, is there? Greta Thunberg, did you see her? She's the 16-year-old Swedish environmental activist who's over here right now. I hope she swam here. I hate to think she flew. I don't think she flew. I think she got a boat. But even so, she should swim. She says we should treat it all as an emergency, as if your house was burning down. She says if your house was burning down, you wouldn't be talking about insurance policies. You'd be trying to put it out. I'm not so sure. The house I live in, actually, I'd be looking at the insurance policies, see whether it's worth it, first of all. I think I'd just let it burn down, to be honest with you. Theresa May didn't show up to meet with Greta. She came all this way. She met with every other political leader. They had a place at the table for her, for Theresa, with their name on it. And I love this. It's got her name and leader of the Conservative Party. They could have said Prime Minister, but I think the name place was printed hours earlier, and you can never be too sure, can you? So there we are. But one thing they do in Sweden... Hang on, let's get some more music here. Oh, no, not that one. Let's do this one. One thing they do in Sweden, which I quite like, is they generate electricity from garbage. 50% of garbage is incinerated in power plants. That's pretty good, isn't it? I mean, it's only a small proportion of their total power. A lot of it is from water, for hydroelectricity. Not just from water, moving water. But that's one good thing about Sweden, making electricity from garbage. They also, I mean, lots of good things about Sweden. They have longer holidays, they've got free childcare, they've got faster internet, they've got 24-hour public transport. A lot of that is free. And they are better looking than we are as well. A lot going for Sweden, although they did give us ABBA, and that is sort of unforgivable. It sort of counteracts all the good stuff. I wonder how much power you could generate from burning ABBA records. I would like the world to be ABBA neutral by 2025, or sooner, if that's possible. Incidentally, on Greta Thunberg, Spiked Online, the right-wing website by Brendan O'Neill, who's a right-winger who thinks he's a left-winger. He's a little confused. They ran a piece on Greta Thunberg, the young woman who they say sounds increasingly like a millennium weirdo. It says, one can imagine her in a sparse wooden church in the Plymouth colony in the 1600s, warning parishioners of the hellfire that will rain on them if they fail to give up their witches. Because obviously that being concerned about climate change is akin to believing in witches as far as they're concerned. And they basically attacked her, this young 16-year-old, for being autistic. But I actually think that's this is a great example of when being autistic is to your benefit, because here she is, she can mix with world leaders at 16 without looking phased or nervous, and a large part of that is because she is autistic. Story number 3 today. Trump is coming, whether we like it or not. He's gate-crashing the anniversary of D-Day. He'll be in London and Portsmouth, and there is nothing we can do about it. It's all been decided. John Bercow, order, has said he won't be allowed to address Parliament. I don't know what you think about that. I think he should be allowed. If he's coming, we're giving him a state visit. I think he should be allowed to address Parliament, just so long as he can take questions. 5-minute talk, 4 hours of us asking him anything we like. See how he likes that. You know, like, for example, we could ask him, what does he expect to come out of freezing Iran's ability to earn foreign income, given almost 90% of their earnings come from oil, and they're now saying that nobody can buy Iranian oil if they want to trade with the United States. I'd like someone to ask him, why is that regime any worse than the Saudis, who have just beheaded 37 people in a mass execution of alleged terrorists, and then they've taken two of the headless bodies, and stuck them on a pole as a warning to others. But we trade with that regime. You know, the UK and the US, we sell them lots of arms, no pun intended, given that we're talking about removing body parts. Why is Iran so bad and Saudi Arabia an ally? Could we ask him that question when he's over here? And also we could ask him, why he sees fit to accept Israel's claim to the Golan Heights, an area that was taken from Syria in 1967, in the 1967 war, and has been unrecognized as an Israeli territory by anyone except Israel, of course, until Donald Trump came along. And now Benjamin Netanyahu is saying he's so grateful he wants to name a settlement in the Golan Heights after President Trump. Can you imagine living there? You might as well paint a big target on the ground. Who's going to live in a house in an occupied territory in the Middle East in a place called Trump? Not on your Nelly. I would rather live in Stoke-on-Trent. And I really don't want to live in Stoke-on-Trent. And that is Balls Radio for another day. See you again tomorrow morning.
Balls Radio, the UK. From a Brexit Britain to the world.